I don't know why I always get into these messes. Sometimes I feel like my whole life is just a series of loosely related wacky misadventures.
I think that's just what being in your 20s is.
So here's the thing about Todd Chavez's professional journey in Bojack Horseman. He is an excellent example of what being in your 20s is like. It's even explicitly stated in the show that this is sort of what his random assortment of shenanigans and odd jobs is attempting to represent. I found that entirely accurate. I mean, I'm in my 20s and I'm a YouTuber now, but about a year ago, I worked at an investment bank. Can you imagine me in a bank, or just like any sort of serious office job? The reason you can't is because I sucked at it. But ultimately, I think his struggle to find what he truly enjoys or is best at is extremely relatable to pretty much every human being, not just those in their 20s. I think Todd does have an unfortunate start with his parents kicking him out of the home when he was 18 years old. That is Helen and Jorge. Even if he was slacking off and showed no direction, was becoming addicted to that video game, as we saw, that is a very young age to just shove someone out of your house, especially if they are struggling mentally with addiction. I know that people don't take it seriously when it's like not one of the more well-known ones, but I mean, that's what it was. So instead of finding his way to a passion that would sustain him, Todd simply drifts to Bojack's house, resolving to sleep on his couch and continue his cycle of not really doing anything because he has no concrete direction or guidance. He doesn't feel like he belongs anywhere, and inherently, he sees himself as an ultimate failure for not meeting his parents' expectations, helped by the fact that Bojack, while he lives with him, takes down Todd's confidence every chance he gets, keeping him complacent so that he stays in this position. I mean, Todd doesn't even really demand any sort of respect from Bojack for a lot of the show. There's a guest room, but he doesn't sleep in it. There's a closet, but for a long time, he doesn't even think about using it and just shoves all of his stuff under the couch, and he doesn't really stand up for himself whenever Bojack insults him, as he believes him to be generally correct about it. It's really depressing, honestly. And I do think this is a great representation of what the period immediately after high school or college feels like for many people, or honestly, really at this point, anyone trying to find a job in the current American job market. It's so fucking horrible to face so much rejection over and over that it can really shake your view of your own skill set and abilities and cause you to doubt yourself and whether or not you're even capable of doing what you set out to do, no matter what degrees you have to prove it. It feeds heavily into imposter syndrome, forcing you to feel as if you have no chance or business even trying to participate in that industry that you have worked in or did study to work in. I have definitely experienced this as well. Because of all this doubt though, he's really susceptible to any sort of opportunity that is thrown his way because he has little confidence in himself, kind of jumping into jobs that he isn't necessarily prepared or suited for, and allowing himself to be taken under the wing of someone who appears to know what they're doing, like being a consultant for Quentin Tarantino and inadvertently turning the movie they're working on into a box of snacks, or working as Mr. Peanut Butter's driver and subsequently being hired to assist with PB Livin', resulting in dozens of business ideas that burn through money, smoothies, Halloween in January, all really just ideas that came to Todd's head that sounded intriguing, but nothing really that's a feasible business idea or something that Todd would really like to do long term, which we can tell by how quickly he abandons these ventures. I mean, there's being industrious and then there's being careless. I'd say buying a store, removing the floor, and creating a giant pit, then forgetting about it entirely forever is maybe more on the careless side, but I do believe it exemplifies how listless Todd is during this period of his life. He has no clue what he wants to do and is really just following any idea that comes into his head, no matter how ridiculous. He doesn't have a proper guide to focus his enormous potential into realistic goals, like when Bojack helps him out with his rock opera. There, we get a concrete example of Todd's ability to follow through and create something grounded that would be able to go into a long, fulfilling career if somebody actually believed in and supported him. That is really all he needs. Unfortunately, Bojack obviously doesn't do this long term, and actually takes advantage and sabotages Todd's rock opera career to keep him in the house. So he does stay in this state but I think where this really starts to show its danger toward Todd himself and his actual direction in life is when he comes into contact with shenanigans, basically a cult, who prey on people exactly like Todd, those who have no direction, who lack purpose, and simply want somewhere to belong. We really see how much it means for Todd to be part of a community, to be valued for his talent and accepted for exactly who he is and how he thinks about and sees the world around him. They're able to feed into that need to be accepted and appreciated and coerce him further and further into the organization until he's essentially working as a slave on their cruise ship by the end of his tenure. It isn't until Bojack, someone extremely close to him, tells him how much he means to him that he's able to break free from this manipulation and go back to his real friends in LA. Not including Bojack, honestly, though I do thank him for freeing Todd this episode, but he does hurt him shortly after this. We're also shown a bit of danger when someone's unrelenting creativity is unhindered by any aspect of reality. With the clown dentist venture or with his Disneyland, he builds an entire theme park on his own, which, I mean, you have to admit is extremely impressive and requires dedication, creativity, and definitely a strong level of patience and endurance. However, because he's not really going about pursuing these things the right way, you know, like letting the state know that you're building this giant amusement park in land that they probably own, and making sure you didn't take a name that already exists, like Disneyland. So as a result, there's no safety concerns. Really, any sort of comprehensive mechanical engineering on these very complex rides and massive structures, we really only get indication that Todd hired like 3 carpenters. So this entire place goes up into flames rather easily at the end of the episode and crashes down onto everyone, endangering the lives of those in the park, including a lot of children, I will say, were there. Also, it's worth noting that one child gets taken by a bed bug, like while playing on the mattresses, just like an unsafe place all around with no precautions taken. Lots of love put into it. But, you know, love doesn't really keep structures up to code. You know what I mean? It's the same with the clown dentistry business. When you boil it down, it's not a terrible idea to try to provide entertainment for children at the dentist to make it less frightening. I get it, but I think TVs have got that covered, Todd. He even states his logic about how he got to clowns specifically, and you can somewhat follow it. But again, he really doesn't have anyone to redirect his dream into something more realistic. He needed Yolanda, really, as we see when she comes in and realistically tears apart his clown show. And I meant that literally, I'm not calling Todd a clown. From there, he's able to conceive of a much more practical business, at least in the Bojack universe, because honestly, in real life, I'm pretty sure a rabies marathon wouldn't be exactly practical either. But hey, for the citizens of wacky Hollywood, apparently this is perfect. So, you know what? Go at it. But even with his more serious career endeavors, like when he attempts to remain an executive at What Time Is It Right Now, he accidentally gets this job and keeps it for a decent amount of time, but we never get any sort of indication that he actually enjoys it. He really only took it as part of a scheme on Bojack's behalf anyway, and originally it was to be a janitor. In fact, a ton of the time we see Todd in this job, he is way more stressed out and frustrated than he usually is ever in this show. It is a different, definitely disturbing outfit on him that goes against his nature. I mean, we can see what a relief it is for him to shed that suit and just go back to his normal life at the end of season 5. It was all just too stressful for him. He was not built for a 9-to-5 corporate job. Or like with Cabracadabra, a very good business idea that he did genuinely come up with, but then he winds up basically running the entire company by himself, something which he is definitely not prepared for. But he steps into the role anyway and turns the company into the exact opposite of what it set out to do. Because frankly, he just doesn't know what he's doing there. He just continually comes up with new ideas to reinvent the business, I think probably because he is losing interest, and ends up subverting the original plan. He kind of just assumes the role that he's given in life, in any aspect, immersing his personality in whatever anyone is willing to throw his way, eventually, of course, losing interest. Again, it really speaks to the uncertainty that Todd feels, not only about his job, but his life in general, his personality. He'll do anything to reach that feeling as if he's useful, an inseparable part of something that provides too much value to be cast away, as he was by his own family, for not being enough for them. However, eventually he does begin to find his way, something that he is passionate about, as the people around him begin to accept him for who he is. Living with Princess Carolyn was a very productive time for him, as after he leaves, what time is it right now, she trusts him enough to look after her child Ruthie, and he cares enough for her to criticize her babysitters for their shortcomings and make sure that she is getting the care that she deserves. Every time he speaks about spending time with Ruthie, we hear about how he gets to do what he loves, putting on ridiculous sock puppet shows, being overly goofy, and so this new job that he's taken on doesn't even really feel like work to him. It's not a 9-to-5 with an overly regimented schedule. It takes care, responsibility, and passion, of course, but the particulars of the job change every day, and Todd always gets to explore new ideas and fresh new possibilities. And after all this time, now that he's in a comfortable position, his stepfather, Jorge, returns, as his mother is in the hospital and needs a kidney. But even with his new satisfying life and job, he still doesn't feel as if he's enough for his parents. Jorge still insinuates that he's not living a good enough life for his family name, despite the fact that Todd himself knows he's happy, and doesn't understand why his family would want anything else but that for him. So what that he doesn't take life as seriously as some people do? He's living a good one. He's safe. He has a good job. He enjoys what he's doing, and that's all that matters. But we really see here how much Jorge and his mother's influence have affected his sense of self, as this is one of the few arguments in the show where Todd really gets riled up and genuinely angry at this accusation in a way that we rarely see from him. It genuinely hurts his self-worth to hear this from this man that he respects, especially after all this work that he's put into getting his life together, thanks to Jorge and his mother providing no sort of safety net or backbone to support him into his adulthood. You know, what every parent is supposed to give every child instead of just abandoning them and running away because, they became emotionally distant, time to go, they're not cute anymore, so dump them. What really helps him through this period is his newfound relationship with Maud, who is wholly supportive of his life and basically is always on the same page as he is. While I don't think Jorge's appraisal would be enough to make Todd quit this entire babysitting endeavor, like he loves living with Princess Carolyn and watching over Ruthie. But with Maud's reassurance and support, he's even able to garner enough confidence to expand the effort into a full business, taking up residence at PC's management company and providing assistance to those working parents there. He makes a full career from this single job that Jorge saw was beneath him, and uses his expertise in expansion of a business, because he's really great at getting them off the ground, just not great at following through, in a very real and grounded way. And this allows him a constant job and a stream of revenue that will continue long into the foreseeable future. And he and Maud are even able to find their own place and begin their independent life together, no longer sleeping on anyone else's couch, but their own. Wow. And Todd, in the end, after forging a life for himself, is able to come back to his parents and begin to rebuild their relationship together, to forgive them for forcing him out of the home. And while I do still think they made the wrong call, Todd does admit that when they kicked him out, it did force him to begin to grow up, and it led him to achieve the great life that he has today. I would say it's not thanks to that, and he definitely could have found this path anyhow, but the way things turned out eventually led Todd to find his own passion anyway, and he was able to figure out a pathway through life without his parents' guidance. But the point is, he did need some sort of guidance. Casting him out did a lot of damage to delay his finding what he was truly passionate about, rather than just taking away the video game and perhaps introducing him to different careers, different hobbies, something that might kickstart his interest and get him off the couch. Because obviously Todd enjoys doing things and has the energy. He just also likes smoking weed, okay? Overall, I think Todd is a great demonstration of the uncertainty of young adulthood. The time after school when there is no easy direction to take, and where there are so many paths as options, it is frightening and overwhelming, and it can be difficult without a strong safety net or someone to guide you to find your way through this really complicated world and make a place for yourself. And as we try over and over to find that place, or even any place that will accept us and pay us, frankly, it can be even more difficult not to feel down about ourselves, or to feel that we don't belong anywhere, don't have any applicable skills, aren't good enough for any community. But Todd is a great reminder that that simply is not true. Everyone has something they excel in, something they enjoy, something that can be used to build a life for themselves, to contribute to the community, provide. It doesn't always have to be just a career either. Sometimes we create value for ourselves or lift others up and entertain with our hobbies. Not everyone is lucky enough to find a paying job that is also right up their alley, and that's okay too. There is still plenty of ways to make meaning, to fulfill yourself, to lead a full life. Todd is proof that just because you may be somewhat lost right now, just because you're not sure what you're meant to do, it doesn't mean that you have to stay in that position. It doesn't mean that there isn't something for you right around the corner. You just haven't found it yet, and you may very well find it soon. But thank you so much for watching this video, and if you'd like to support this channel further, you can go to patreon.com/PosiTVty. That's PosiTVty. There you get all the videos before they come out on YouTube. You get to see them unedited, so you hear my lovely mistakes, and you get to choose exactly what you want to see. If you're a patron and you ask me to do something, I will just do it. So go there to get more content for yourself, but also support this channel further. But even just being here on YouTube and watching, liking, subscribing, commenting, doing anything, I really appreciate it. Like I said, I was a little bit lost in my direction in life before I was able to find this, and I'm just so grateful that you guys have allowed me to basically make a career off talking about what I love the most. It's really inspiring, and I don't know, it means a lot to me. So thank you so much for that, and I appreciate you being here. And again, you never know what you might be good at, what opportunity you might be able to find. I know things seem like really hopeless right now for a lot of people looking for a job or thinking that they are never going to be able to own a house. You never know what life is going to throw your way. You never know what you might find. So hang in there, because things could turn around tomorrow, for all you know. But I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye, have a wonderful day.